Welcome in to the Dynasty Mafia podcast. I am your host, Antonio Denisi. With me, as always, my brother, Eric Denisi, and Keen Jimmy Jeech. How are we tonight, fellas?
Good.
Good. And what, are you out of breath there? You're excited to do the show?
Sorry, yeah, I'm so excited. I just couldn't talk there for a second. I lost my breath. I thought I was going to hiccup. Sorry about that. But no, super excited. It's been a little while. We had a little bit of an internet issue, so sorry about that.
I apologize about that.
Yeah.
No. Verizon apologizes about that, folks.
Yeah, they are definitely not a sponsor, but we are very, very excited to be back. Definitely way too long. A lot has happened in between that time frame. We went back to space.
We did.
That was that was something that kept me going yesterday. For the last about 24 hours, SpaceX had sent some NASA astronauts into orbit to go to the International Space Station. So that was really awesome to be able to watch. First time since 2011 that we've sent astronauts off of U.S. soil. What did you guys think about that?
I thought it was pretty cool. Some live besides sports. We're not able to watch sports on TV, so you were able to watch that. I thought it was pretty cool. We always saw those videos in high school when we were studying. Was it Cold War when they were all racing up to space, Russia versus U.S. So hopefully we get a little modern day of that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, especially since it's been almost 10 years since we had astronauts from the U.S. soil go. And especially the cool thing, though, was the rocket at the end landing, how they had it land on the pad there or whatever. So that was cool, too, just seeing the different kind of technology they used as opposed to the old videos, like you said before, that we used to see all the time with the rockets launching.
My only question is space corona free? If so, when do we get on the spaceship?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. They got to be pretty close up there in the space station.
Yeah. Can they do social distancing up there?
They did not look like they were 6 feet away,
yeah.
but they definitely were in suits. So maybe that counts for something.
Yeah.
But yeah, they let that rocket down, the remote rocket. That was really cool that they released. But the thing that amazed me was they were going up to 17,000 miles an hour to get up to orbit. Like that was wild, and they did that in a matter of like 6 or 7 minutes. So that was really cool to be able to watch something in space from my phone.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to space in the late 60s. So to be able to say 60 years later, 55 years later, that's really cool to me. So let's move over to some football.
Whoa. Before we go any farther.
Oh, we have something.
Before we go any farther, let's talk about the celebrity in the family. Miss Denisi making waves on TikTok. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, she's lighting it up. Over 50,000 views.
That's
oh
pretty
yeah,
cool.
my mother has a lot of lonely time that she apparently downloaded TikTok and has over 50,000. You said on a current video that she just posted a couple days ago.
Yeah, we got to get her on the show.
She's been posting for a while. She's been waiting for her chance. This is it.
Oh wow, that's that's.
We gotta get her on the show. We're gonna be on her show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get a boost. I think that she'd be someone that could make that happen. Yeah, if anybody's on TikTok,
can I get an autograph?
Not, but yeah. So all right, now we'll move on to some
water
football.
dumped on her head.
Aaron Rodgers, in lieu of the Packers drafting a quarterback, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers jokes. Well, maybe not jokes, but make some comments about not possibly ending his career as a Green Bay Packer. Sort of like Brett Favre-esque, kind of how Aaron Rodgers' career started. So I don't know why he is so surprised that this may have happened. Maybe he didn't expect it at this point, but what was he, 37 years old? I think it was the same age when Favre.
Yeah, same age.
Yeah, same age. So is Aaron Rodgers going to end a Packer?
Absolutely not. It's over. I think the Packers are one bad season or 8-8 season away from blowing the whole thing up. They already got their quarterback, and they already drafted a running back to replace Jones. So I think the coaching staff is prepping for this to happen. And it was their first year last year as Packers head coach. What's his name? Drawing a blank.
Oh, currently LaFleur?
LaFleur, yeah.
LaFleur,
First year, it's not too late to blow it up if he wanted to get his own players in, if he feels like he can't win with these players.
Yeah, but do you say that about one of the best quarterbacks to ever play?
Hey.
Don't you surround around him if he thinks he's got another 3 or 4 years left?
Well, let's ask Bill Belichick.
I think the
uniform.
The whole situation is maybe a little more overblown than everyone's really saying, because even LaFleur himself said they have the greatest quarterback in the league, or the best quarterback in the league, and he already said that's their quarterback, that's their guy. I think it's more of, if you look throughout Rodgers' history, he has a little bit of an injury history, and they've never seemed to have somebody good enough to come in and back him up there. Same with Carson Wentz and that whole situation there. I think Wentz is fine. I think it was more of an insurance policy, just like they had with Foles.
They were one game away from the Super Bowl. One game away from the Super Bowl. Why wouldn't you use that first-round pick to get someone in here to help Rodgers?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they had a great season last year too. They were one of the 13-3, was it?
Yeah, they did, but it was a lot of people did think that was a lucky 13-3. There were a lot of close games.
Okay. So why wouldn't you use something to help the current team then?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not saying Jordan Love was the answer at I believe 26. They could have maybe gotten somebody later, or just waited another year.
Well, not only could he be the backup, but like a potential future option too. So that's also why, and he probably wouldn't have lasted to their next pick. So that's probably, I'm guessing that's why they pulled the trigger. Same with AJ Dillon. They didn't trust him to fall to their next pick, so that's why they picked him where they did.
He just has a big question mark on me. Like, if you have one of the best quarterbacks on your team already, and he probably has 2-3 more good seasons in him, why would you draft Jordan Love? What happens in 2 years and Jordan Love's a bust?
Well, that's why you pick him now.
Will you even know, though?
Under Rodgers. So
will you even know?
What's that?
Will you even know?
Exactly.
Aaron Rodgers just redid his contract in 2022. He's still a $17 million cap hit. So you need to trade him, and you got to hope somebody. I mean, I'm not saying somebody won't take that deal, but even next year alone, he's a $36 million cap hit.
It's just a big risk, I think, for the coaching staff to do this.
I'm sorry. He was a $36 million cap hit, then $39 million in 2022.
Yeah, I think it was more of an insurance policy now in case Rodgers goes down, as well as a potential long-term option, and that's why they felt spending the first-round capital was worth it. I mean, spoiler alert, I have Rodgers as my sell, which we'll talk about later, but I still think for the next couple of years he's going to be fine.
Okay, what if Rodgers stays healthy, like Antonio was saying, and stays healthy for 2-3 years, and we move down the road, Rodgers, retires. They bring this guy in, Jordan Love, drafted 3 years ago. Do they know he's going to be good by just watching him at practice or in a preseason game?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers learned under Brett Favre for a couple of years.
I mean, Nathan Peterman looked good at practice, and we put him in a game. He threw 6 interceptions in the game.
Yeah, but that's what you got to do. I mean, you're never going to know. It's
just a big risk.
Well, only time will tell, and we'll see how this offseason moves along. Yeah, definitely a risk. And speaking of long-term, history doesn't favor the Cowboys when it comes to keeping Dak Prescott playing under the franchise tag. The franchise tag started in 1993. Since then, there have been 11 times that quarterback has been tagged, and 8 times, including Prescott, have been tagged. Only 2 of them have played under the tag, though, Kirk Cousins and Drew Brees. Both of them were subsequently traded after they were being tagged, Kirk going from Washington and then signing with Minnesota, and then Brees moving over to New Orleans. So does it seem like they're going to get a deal done before the season begins in 2020?
I think if Jerry Jones is smart, I wouldn't push for a deal to get done. Like I'm not a Dak believer. I don't think Jones is either. Let him play on a franchise tag. Let him play on a prove it deal.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make it a priority to try and get it done, but I feel like in the end it might not get done right away, and it might end up going until. I think he's gonna play on the franchise tag either way. I don't think he's gonna sit out or anything, but it's gonna be tough for them to get it done. I think if they haven't gotten it done already, then it's probably not gonna happen until after the season.
Yeah, well, I think the franchise tag's up to $36 million now, and he definitely wants to sign for an annual amount higher than that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're going to get there yet. What'd you say?
Is he worth it?
Is he worth it? In Jerry Jones' eyes, he's going to be because Jerry Jones drafted him, and
I totally understand what they're doing though. With the weapons they have now, this is basically make it or break it for him. I mean, which I think he had a breakout season last year, 4,930 touchdowns, but
he just recently turned down $33 million per year. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, the tag.
If he's turning down $33 million, how much is Mahomes going to get? When's this going to stop?
Never.
Never. The salary cap's always going to keep going.
We in our lifetime going to have a $1 billion quarterback. Billion.
In our lifetime? Yeah, probably.
That's insane. I should have been a quarterback.
Yeah. Should have done that.
Yeah, you made the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily worth it just yet. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I definitely think there's a chance he might be tagged twice, and then who knows where he's going to be because Dallas might not have that money without hurting themselves till at least 2021. Yeah, that's going to be.
If he's tagged twice, though, and after 2021, they could trade away Amari Cooper and free up a bunch of space right there.
Right.
And then they have CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup there still. So that could be a potential option.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, well, they do have a run game. They do have that run game, and they did pay the running back Zeke Elliott. So another team that loves to run the ball a lot, the Baltimore Ravens. They did set a NFL record by rushing for 3,296 yards, just over 200 rushing yards a game. And they were able to tally a league-best 531 points. So John Harbaugh, the head coach, made a comment that he thinks the next step for Lamar Jackson is to be able to move the ball downfield. Since they're running the ball, he said that he really does believe that's the next step for this offense from an execution standpoint, and that he's going to take the next step because of our receivers. With Hollywood Brown, he's very fast. Miles Boykin, he's a big wide receiver. He moved fast. Duvernay, they drafted. James Proche, if I'm pronouncing that right. But they seem like they want to have speed down the field, and they're going to probably see some stacked boxes from the amount of rushing they've done. So they need to make sure they keep the defense honest. Do you think he's going to be able to keep up with the Joneses when it comes to throwing 30-plus touchdowns again?
I think he can. I don't know. Everyone thinks he's for sure going to have, touchdown regression, which maybe he could to a point, but it's when you're setting out this team, it's tough to not see him get at least 30 again, Like if Mark Andrews can get 10 again, maybe even 12 or 13, which I could definitely see happen. Hollywood Brown's going to take a step forward this year. And just the whole team, that their passing game is going to be even better. Like that's the scary thing is this offense only got better. They added J.K. Dobbins, Duvernay, like you said, they added. I don't know. I really like this team. I think it's going to be more of the same next year.
I respectfully disagree. I think the Tennessee Titans have put the blueprint how to stop Lamar Jackson. Look what they made him do. They made him throw the ball over 50 times, and they got blown out by the Tennessee Titans, who was run by Tannehill. I I don't think you know me, I'm not a big Lamar Jackson believer. I think I said it last year. There's going to be a defense that's going to stop him, and that's going to set the blueprint. He's got to make the throws, not in the middle of the field. It's more on the outside, but outside of numbers, and I don't think he can do it.
They're just gonna add so much more to their offense, though. Like, imagine this: three people in their backfield: Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins. Just what are you gonna do with all three of them just sitting back there? Then you got Hollywood and Mark Andrews. You gotta defend. They're going to be scary. They're going to be
scary on paper.
More of the same. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that they could do.
Friendly wager here, Eric.
Oh,
you got 30 touchdowns. I got less than 30 touchdowns passing.
All right.
A beer.
Let's put the over under 29.5.
All right. We got a beer.
29.5. All right.
You got the over.
You like 6-pack or whatever.
And there's your 6-pack. There's your first Mafia bet, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Yeah. We're gonna write that down. You know, the thing though, I don't think Tennessee can keep that up though. Every single game, especially every other team. I mean, Lamar Jackson still had 140 rushing yards, and yeah, he did throw the ball a lot. And Tannehill only threw it 14 times.
Well, no, I'm saying the defense.
Everybody's got Derrick Henry.
I'm saying the defensive blueprint. I'm not saying I don't care what they did on offense, Tennessee, but I'm just saying that he couldn't beat Tannehill. And I'm also not a Tannehill believer either because
Derrick Henry beat everybody.
Yeah, so true. Derrick Henry pretty much gave Tannehill another big contract.
You know, one interesting stat, speaking of both those teams, is that only 4 teams since 2014 have had less than 450 pass attempts. And it was the 2018 and 2019 Titans, the 2019 Ravens, and the 2018 Seahawks. Now, the coincidence about all 4 of those teams is they are hyper efficient. Now, we know Russell Wilson has been hyper efficient his whole career, so we know the Seahawks can keep doing it. The Ravens, we haven't seen doing it very long, but the Titans were able to do it for a couple years. The 49ers actually had 452 in 2019, and they are an extremely efficient team. So all 4 of those teams made the playoffs and, you know, are capable of having deep runs. Is it becoming a league that's maybe more balanced with running and passing? Or is it just these teams right now?
I mean, right now might be just these teams, but I think it's going to go towards that. Like, what you're just going to notice, there's just a lot more, especially with this rookie class, just added, you know, a good 5 or 6, maybe even 7 really good running backs, and it's just teams are going to be able to do more with the running game with the amount of talent that's currently in the league.
Yeah, I think we're slowly seeing all the quarterbacks getting ready for retirement, like Brady is on the last few years, Breeze, Big Ben, where those teams trusted these quarterbacks to throw 30, 40, 50 times a game. Now we're seeing all those young quarterbacks start coming in with Allen,
Wentz is there,
Jackson, Wentz, you know, and I think teams are
Tyler
understanding that you're not going to get that Tom Brady that's just going to walk in and, you know, understand the offense and be able to win, you know, Super Bowls right off the bat. I think teams are being more patient with developing a quarterback than they were in the past. And the way to develop the quarterback and have patience is by handing off the ball to the running back.
Yeah, taking pressure off of them.
Yeah, taking pressure off the running back. If that makes sense to me, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one way to be able to run the ball, though, is you got to have a good run blocking. You know, you got to be able to block well, and you have to be able, like we said, to keep them honest when the boxes do get stacked. And we'll see what if Baltimore can repeat. Maybe not the historic level of rushing, but they blew everybody else away. So talking about blocking, George Kittle, probably one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, if not the best, is also still on his rookie contract, set to make $2.13 million this year, which will put him at 35th for all tight ends.
What a bargain.
So, what a bargain for San Francisco. So do you think there is a chance that he could be somebody that might be tagged next year or that he's going to sit out possibly for the 2020 season until they can get something done? Because it sounds like they haven't been anywhere near close. And
you say George Kittle, right?
George Kittle, yeah.
I think he gets it done just because of one reason.
Don't talk about that.
49ers need George Kittle more than George Kittle needs the 49ers.
Don't talk about a holdout. I got him in too many leagues. Don't say that. He's my boy.
I mean, the 49ers definitely have the leverage. That's what worries me.
No, they have to sign him.
How do they have the leverage?
They need him out there. If they want a chance at going to the Super Bowl again, they need him. I mean, he's their number one receiving option there. He's their biggest threat. I know they drafted Ayuk and Debo's got another year down but they need him, I feel like.
They do, but the way they have the leverage is, they could let him play they could pay him $2 million this year, let him sit out if he really wanted to, which costs them basically nothing, and then they could tag him for this year would be just over $10 million.
Yeah, but you don't want him to sit out this year.
Yeah, you need
because
I'm not saying
everyone everyone knows defenses don't last, and right now they have one of the best defenses in the league. Like this right now is their Super Bowl window. They need him in there, so he does have some leverage. I feel like. I know they definitely have more leverage, but he's
that's why I feel
on his side there.
That's why I feel like the 49ers need George Kittle more than George Kittle needs the 49ers.
Yeah, I could.
But he's also looking for more money than a top tight end. He's looking to get paid.
Yeah,
correct. That's the problem.
He wants to reset the market for tight ends. Him and Ertz do. Ertz turned down an offer that was similar to Austin Hooper's. And
yeah,
Ertz is in his 30s, or pushing 30s. George Kittle.
But tight ends normally last a little bit longer. Like look at Jason Witten and Greg Olsen. They're still.
Yeah, Kittle turned 27 during the season, and I do think that they probably will reach something, especially let's say he holds out and they start the season 0-3. That they will pay him if that's
when he's going to get paid.
Yeah, that's the way he's going to get paid. So that the offseason with everything going on obviously is making it tougher for conversations, but I think that as things maybe hopefully continue to open up, teams can get back at that, and somebody like George Kittle might find himself with a long-term deal with the 49ers. So I want to move along from our news and notes segment. So now we're going to move on to our main segment here, our buys and sells. Each of us are going to give a buy for the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position, as well as a sell for each of those. And what we're going to do is start us off with the quarterback buys here. And Keenan, starting at the top.
Yes, sir. I got Baker Mayfield. Obviously, he's a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So the way I look at Baker's year last year, kind of look at it as Jared Goff's year when Jeff Fisher was his head coach, his rookie season. Everyone thought that Goff was going to be a bust. His numbers were down. Then they bring in a new coach, offensive-minded head coach, and Sean McVay. And numbers skyrocket. They eventually make the Super Bowl. So Baker Mayfield's going to prove that you need a coach to help a young quarterback out, where they just hired Kevin Stefanski. He's a new young offensive-minded head coach, 37 years old. I think the NFL is slowly moving into that. You need that offensive-minded, young. Get rid of all those, all those old guys. Kick them to the curb and bring these young guys in, like us. They should hire us and see what they can do. But Stefanski has been around the league. He's been in Minnesota for the last 14 seasons. He is a quarterback coach. He took over offensive coordinator in week 15 of 2018. And in his first, chance as an offensive coordinator, he was able to make, the Minnesota Vikings a very good offense, where Kirk Cousins blossomed under his offense. So I think Baker's more talented, and then Kirk Cousins, I think he's with the help of his new head coach. I feel like he's ready to take that next step. Not only was the passing offense really good with Minnesota, their run offense is really good. So now, if Chubb and Hunt can get going behind beyond that offensive line, it's going to help Mayfield out. And with all those weapons, I think they have the best weapons on paper. If they could put it together, that team is scary good. I'm not a big Cleveland fan in general in all sports. I hated LeBron James all those years. But I would hate to see, Cleveland be good. But with all those weapons, it's going to be hard it's going to be hard for Baker not to blossom. He's got Chubb, Hunt, Odell, Landry, Hooper, Njoku. Like I said, I think they have the best weapons on paper.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That I almost considered him as a buy, but I had to go with our homeboy, Josh Allen. It's not necessarily a buy low since his current ADP is QB8.
Yeah.
But I do think after this year he's going to be one of those guys that are just unobtainable. Almost like Lamar and Mahomes are, to the point where you have to give up so much to get them that you're just not going to want to do it. But if you look at it, obviously with the addition of Stephon Diggs, they added Zach Moss into the offense. He had a year to grow with Beasley, Brown, Knox. If you look from his rookie year to his sophomore year, his completion percentage went from 52.8% to 58.8%. And I think this year you could see it get over 60% for sure. I think he's going to take another step forward. And if you look at it also from this last year, he threw for 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And the year before, he threw 12 interceptions in 5 less games. So he's making better decisions. He obviously has a fumbling issue, but I think he can work on that too.
Yeah, that's they could fix that.
Yeah. And not only that, but he also added over the past 2 years, he added 17 total rushing touchdowns, as well as over 500 rush yards both years. So just what he can bring to the table, I think he's going to take another step forward. I think this offense is going to take a step forward, and yeah, I think he's going to be a good buy right now.
Yeah, two really good options you guys have there, and I'm going to kind of stick with a young theme here, and I'm going to go with Jared Goff. He's turning 26 this season, plays for the LA Rams, and I originally picked him as my sell, and when I was going through everything, the more I looked, I was kind of surprised and decided to make him my buy. And a big thing was he's had 4,600 yards in back-to-back seasons. So that the offense likes to throw. He still has his core players, even though getting rid of Brandon Cooks. He still has Cooper Kupp, whom he loves the most. Robert Woods is extremely reliable. Josh Reynolds knows the offense. He's been around. Tyler Higbee kind of burst out, as well as Gerald Everett, since they do like to run that 12 personnel. Whitworth re-signed for a 3-year, so he's going to be there. And there's just so much continuity. And he finished as the quarterback 7 in 2018. So going into 2019, it didn't look like the best season for him. But for fantasy-wise, it really wasn't horrible. He still finished in the top 13. And when I saw his ADP was up at the higher end, what was it, quarterback 18, I think I was looking at it. I'm like, there's no way he should be that high right now. So that was kind of a big reason as well that I pulled him in here. And when you look at his 4 worst games during the season, he played against San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Baltimore, which were all some of the top defenses in the whole league. So, I mean, the whole team in general was just struggling. Now, he has a really low floor because during those 4 games, he totaled only 14.44 points. I mean, and that's in 6-point per touchdown league. So that was really rough. But like I said, he still finishes as a quarterback 13 with those 4 games. So you take away those 4, he averaged 20.8 points per game, which would have had him time for 6th, which was only 0.1 behind Mahomes. So kind of looking at that information really made me realize that his floor, as I said, we know where it can be, but his ceiling is really up there. It can be that top 5 quarterback. And I'm really excited for what he can do for this next season, especially now that they have Cam Akers in there to kind of replace what Gurley was able to do. But I really do think that that offense is going to get back to what they were like in 2018. And yeah, I think Goff's going to come back, and he's going to be a really good player that you should be getting this season, because next season is going to be a lot different.
I agree. They're going to get rid of that Super Bowl hangover, huh, Antonio?
Yeah, they're going to. And even, mentioning that Super Bowl hangover, his 2018 season was actually really incredible. He had wins against the Chargers, the Vikings, Seattle twice, San Francisco twice, Green Bay, and Kansas City. And then they went to the Super Bowl after beating Dallas and New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of teams. That's a lot of good teams there.
Yeah.
So, so we have Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, and Jared Goff, all young quarterbacks. So let's focus over to ourselves now with Eric.
Yeah, for my sell, it's kind of an easy one almost, but I went with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he's turning 37. They just drafted Jordan Love. They didn't draft any wide receivers for him. I do think he's going to be fine over the next couple of years. But I was actually kind of surprised. He's going as QB 13 right now. So fantasy-wise, I don't think his value is going to get any higher than it currently is. So that's why I'd say sell him now, get what you can for him. It's going to be probably more of the same from what it was. Last year he's going to have some good games, but then he's going to have games where he just doesn't do anything for you. And I think right now, since he's going QB 13, you could try and trade him for, for example, Sam Darnold, or like Antonio's buy, Jared Goff. Those are guys, being drafted behind him right now. So if you can make a deal like that, get a younger guy in there, you could find yourself a better asset coming down the road,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Eric, because the only way I would keep Rodgers if I have him is if I have Jordan Love on my team. If you lock them both up, at least you're guaranteed to have one of them as your starter moving forward. All depends what Green Bay decides to do with Rodgers.
Yeah.
Because if they end up trading him, you have that, his handcuff, and you're able to just plug in Jordan Love, and then Rodgers, you still have Rodgers wherever he goes, you still have him,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I went with a younger quarterback here. He's very popular in fantasy, in Deshaun Watson, quarterback for the Houston Texans. Might be a little surprised, but I am still stuck on that Hopkins trade. I'm still scared. Whenever a quarterback loses their number one weapon, it can't be good, especially with the chemistry those two developed over the years. It's hard to develop that, and is Fuller going to be able to take number one reps for the Texans and be able to produce like Hopkins did? I don't think so. Plus, he has a hard time staying on the field. I feel like every time I draft him, I'm sliding him into my IR position. Same thing with Brandon Cooks. They got some talent there in Brandon Cooks and Fuller and David Johnson, but there's a lot of question marks there when it comes to injuries. So the way I see it with Deshaun Watson here, try to sell him. Someone's going to pay up. I hate to trade him unless someone's really giving you a good return value. But like I said, once you lose your number one weapon, it's going to be tough to put up the numbers that he has.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Deshaun is the real deal. I do like a lot of the points you said, but you're right. He needs to show everybody now that he is more than just what DeAndre Hopkins was able to do for him. Speaking of somebody else who kind of needs to put up or shut up, I'm selling Dak Prescott, and it's not because I hate Dak Prescott. I don't think he's going to be able to continue to be that top, 3, 4, or 5 fantasy quarterback. I know he threw 30 touchdowns and over 4,900 yards last year, but that type of production doesn't come by just any quarterback every single year. He needed 596 attempts to do that, and I don't think he's going to be throwing that much anymore, especially with McCarthy coming in. I know he talked about trying to learn the new school, but only one time ever with him did Aaron Rodgers throw the ball over 600 times. And I don't think that that's something that they're going to want to do.
I don't think he can do it.
He can do it, but they have Zeke Elliott for a reason, and they pay him a lot of money. And if you got a quarterback throwing over 600 times, you're not going to be giving Zeke the ball the right amount of times either. But Dak needs to consistently have a high yards per attempt if he wants that kind of yardage. Aaron Rodgers, his career, he has a very high yards per attempt. Mahomes is around 8.6. Dak's was 8.2 last season. That's very, very high for that's elite level. And, maybe Dak can do that. Maybe he can't. I'm on the side right now that doesn't think he's going to be able to keep that up, even with the addition of CeeDee Lamb. But the other interesting thing that I saw was in their 8 wins last year, excuse me, Dak threw over 33 times just twice. So if they're going to be winning, he's obviously not going to be throwing the ball that much, which means he needs to be hyper efficient to be getting you anywhere near what you're looking for from 2019. And in 2018, it was just 3 times in the 9 wins that they had where he threw the ball more than 33 times, and 2 of those were high-scoring shootouts. So you're obviously hoping to not get into shootouts every time, and that Dallas defense is pretty good. So if they got a good defense and a run game, I kind of lean the side that they might be winning more than losing. And if that's the case, well, he had 4 games without a passing touchdown, and all those were losses. So in his losses, if he's not producing, and in his wins, if he's not producing, that's why I think he's going to be a sell for me. One more thing, too. The top 4 defenses that they faced last season, New England, Buffalo, New Orleans, and Chicago, Dallas lost all 4 of them.
And they got blown out on Thanksgiving by our Bills.
They didn't have CD Lamb, though. He's going to be great this year. Dak Prescott is going to be great. You're crazy. I'm keeping him. He's going to be awesome. He's going to put up 5,035 touchdowns.
Sounds like we have a dynasty bet, a mafia bet. Here we go.
I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I love CD. I love Gallup. I love Amari. I love that offense. But I'm just not trusting that the new regime wants to throw that ball 600 times, which is what I think Dak needs to be able to even touch that again. So I'll put a bet up that he doesn't throw for 5,000 yards.
Oh, give me like.
I'll give you 40. I'll give you 4,700.
Oh wow, he dropped 300 yards.
All right, 47.
4,700.
Okay, 6-pack.
What's the bet? 6-pack.
6-pack. We'll just keep doing 6-packs.
6-pack, sure.
All right.
You like those twisted tees?
We'll make it 46.99 and a half.
There you go, 46.99.
Well, I guess I'll move into my
let's slide over to our running back buys.
Yeah. For me, this was tough for me. There's a lot of running backs that I love, and I could not pick one that was going to be a buy low. I think Austin Eckler is going to cost some money, running back for Chargers, but he's my buy. I think he's going to be a true, big PPR threat. If you have him, you're going to love him this year. Even last year, after Melvin Gordon returned in Week 5, Eckler was still able to produce RB1 production. I would watch a San Diego Chargers game, and I felt like Philip Rivers was just dumping it down to him. And how ironic, he's got Tyrod Taylor as his quarterback this year, who was 8th in checkdowns in 2017 and 2018 with 8.7% of the time. Watching Tyrod Taylor here in Buffalo is frustrating, but if I'm watching Tyrod Taylor just, give Eckler those 2-yard catches and I'm racking up those PPR points, I'll be happy. But I think he's gonna cost some if you want to trade for him. But I think if you want a good PPR stud, this is the guy to go for, because Christian McCaffrey is going to cost a lot. Barkley's going to cost a lot. Eckler is obviously not as good as those two, so you might be able to get a stud here. even with Justin, thought I heard something. Even with Justin Herbert, if he does take over the job over Tyrod Taylor, I feel like with a rookie quarterback, they're going to ease him into the offense, like we said with the prior quarterbacks that we mentioned earlier in the show, where he's going to either dump it off or he's just going to hand it off to Eckler. So I don't see any of those running backs that are behind Eckler being that much of a threat. So yeah, I love Austin Eckler. I actually traded for him. I wish I had the trade pulled up. I gave up a lot for him. And the only piece I remember that I gave up was Zach Ertz, which I'm fine with that. But I did give up a lot for him, and everyone gave me a hard time for it. This is before we knew where Melvin Gordon was going.
I don't remember the trade, but I'd be interested to go see what it was.
I'll pull it up. Why don't you move on to your buy? I'll pull it up.
All right, yeah, pull that up. Mine's James Conner, running back for the Steelers. This it seemed pretty easy to me. I mean, right now his ADP is currently running back 29. Obviously there's health issues. He's on the last year of his deal. They drafted McFarland. I'm not worried about Snell or Samuels. They're nothing special. But if James Conner stays healthy, he is by far the best running back on that team. Even like Tomlin said himself, he's a featured guy, when he's healthy. So, back in 2018, in 13 games, he finished as the RB7. So you're paying running back 29 price, and you're potentially getting a top 10 running back if he stays healthy. So for me, the risk to the reward is very low risk and very high reward. So for me right now, he's a very good buy. And you can get him cheap too.
Are you afraid of that they just drafted a running back this past draft?
McFarland's all right, but again, he's not a special talent really. He's good. Like, don't get me wrong, but he's not if James Conner's healthy, then McFarland's not a serious threat. I don't believe.
You don't think he?
For me, the only thing that worries me is health, and that's it. Which is obviously a big concern, but for how cheap he is right now, I'm not scared of the price for the possible reward.
See, I'm a little different with you. I'll just say this: whenever a coaching staff and a GM decide to draft a running back, it scares me away from the running back.
They don't have
for
depth,
me too,
though.
but normally if it's in the first 3 rounds, then I worry a little bit more than obviously the first and second round. But
it's just in the back of my head.
They had the chance to get
sure.
Dobbins. They had the chance to get Swift. They had the chance to get Taylor.
Yeah.
They passed on all of them, and I really think that they went with McFarland because Jalen Samuels can catch the ball if they need him to, and then Snell can kind of do some work, or maybe they're really not a big fan of Snell. I'm not either. But McFarland, I think, was just there if something happens to Conner. And, yeah, what did I get? I think I got him for 204.
Yeah, I think
McFarland.
I think the McFarland pick was more so speaking towards Samuels and Snell. I don't think they're fans because they gave both of them had opportunities. And I just think they
definitely did.
Them.
And then that primetime game, Pittsburgh Buffalo, he did show up. He did show up in that game for sure.
Yeah,
Conner. And I thought he was going to beat us single-handedly.
He's a very good running back. It's all health with him.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, he's great.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I'm saying, you're buying him at running back 29, and you're potentially getting a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he busts out, you at least didn't have to pay much.
Antonio, I got that trade pulled up. If you want to talk about that, or do you want to go into your buy?
What, the trade for Conner?
No, the one with Eckler that I traded for. So I gave up Philip Lindsay, Zach Ertz, and a 2021 second-round pick for Austin Eckler. And it worked out. I didn't know Melvin Gordon was going to Denver either. So Philip Lindsay's value went down, and then everyone knows my thoughts on Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
I think I like that.
Yeah, especially after the Melvin Gordon signing, you definitely won that deal.
That's why I like to make those trades in early January. Try to get a read on these NFL teams.
Yeah, get ahead of things. Yeah. Anthony, who's your
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to move on over to mine, and it's going to be Miles Sanders, somebody I am very, very, very high on. And a big reason is because from week 10 on, he was on pace to be a top 8 running back. And he only had 52% of the running back touches in Philadelphia and still was able to finish as an RB1, which was number 12. Right now, he's currently being drafted as the 11th running back, and I just think that's too low. I think he's got a very big opportunity to jump into maybe the top 6 or 7 after this season. And in the 7 games starting in week 10, his snap count jumped to 85, 85, 88, 57, 71, 81, and then 31. The 31 was more rest. Boston Scott kind of did his thing that game. But in the 7 games, as well with that, he was on pace for over 300 touches, over 1,500 yards, and 9 touchdowns on over 80 targets. And I think that's just a really big workload for a guy who's extremely efficient when he touches the football. He really made a difference for that offense. And I think he's someone Doug Peterson would lean a little bit more on than he has in the past on other running backs. And on top of that, the Eagles have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in the league. And speaking of your boy Austin Eckler, Miles Sanders was the only other running back to average at least 10 yards per carry with at least 50 catches. So they both are pretty good with the ball in their hands. And I think the Eagles are going to keep their attempts in the upper 20s, which is where they've been the last couple of years. And if Sanders can see right around 60% of that, that'll keep him around 15 to 20 touches a game, which will let him do that damage that he really can do. So I'm interested to see how Peterson plays it for 2020. But yeah, that's my Miles Sanders love.
You do love Miles Sanders.
I do love Miles Sanders. I
like
think
it.
The only reason he wasn't amazing in college was because he sat behind Saquon Barkley. That's what I truly feel. I mean, he had a great senior season, but I think Barkley.
He's going to be great this year. Some people are sleeping on him.
They really are. ADP 11.
I'm one of those people.
Well, yeah, I mean, Edwards-Helaire is already ahead of him, and I mean, that's just a little too much for my blood.
Well, you know me and my love for Prince of Bel-Air. Would you call him Prince of
Bel-Air?
Bel-Air, yeah, there it is.
Let's talk about yourself for the running back.
We'll into ourselves for our running back here. So drum roll, please. Christian McCaffrey, running back for Carolina, is my sell. Don't get me wrong. I'm not selling him because I think he sucks. He's overrated or anything. He's great. All right. He's the best running back in the league. Now, the thing that scares me is his workload. He had that 400 touches last year. And you know what happens with running backs once their workload increases, there's always that chance for possible injury. But I ran into this, funny stat, the curse of the 400 touches. Larry Johnson, Eddie George, LaDainian Tomlinson, DeMarco Murray, Steven Jackson, Endra James. After their 400 touch season, their numbers declined drastically. So this is your chance right here. If you wanna sell Christian McCaffrey, this is when someone's gonna pay you. Someone's gonna pull up the Brinks truck into your driveway and dump the money right outside your house. So we all know the life expectancy of running backs. Can you guys name the top 12 running backs in 2016?
Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Melvin Gordon.
Evelyn Jai had a good year.
Yeah.
2016.
Jordan Howard, Frank Gore.
Howard, yeah.
Davis Murray.
LaShawn McCoy.
Monte Freeman, LaShawn McCoy. How many of those names did we just name what are they now? So this is where you want to, I understand he's still young. if you have them and you're deep in running back, this is your chance to get them. During my research, I ran into a couple trades that that some of our friends and colleagues have made that I want to discuss with you guys. If which team do you think made out in this trade? So Team A gets Christian McCaffrey and Matt Ryan. Team B gets Patrick Mahomes, Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, 2020 first-round pick and 2021 first-round pick. Team B?
I'm taking the second one.
Team B?
Yeah, it's one quarterback?
One quarterback. Here's another
Yeah.
one. Team A got Christian McCaffrey. Team B got Joe Mixon, Scary Terry McLaurin, 2020 first overall pick, 101 and 109.
I'm taking that side.
Too.
We'll do. Here's this one. I don't know what this person was thinking. Christian McCaffrey, ready? For Saquon Barkley, Terry McLaurin in the 2020 second-round pick, and also Justin Hill was thrown in that trade.
Obviously taking Saquon there.
And then here's the last one that I saw: Christian McCaffrey for Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, and 2 firsts. One of the first was the first overall. 2020 first overall.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
People are overpaying for Christian McCaffrey. This is your chance to like I said, get that brain.
It's a lot more than I thought. Damn.
Yeah, there's always that that fantasy player that doesn't know what they're doing. This is your chance to take advantage of them, I guess.
You can get anything close to that. Sell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're selling the name, and eventually his number.
Especially if you get Saquon plus. That's
when I saw that, it was insane.
Yeah, I have Saquon over CMC.
Yeah, and the other thing that scares me is this new coaching staff. What type of offense are they going to bring with Teddy Bridgewater under center? I loved Cam Newton, even though last year without Cam Newton, McCaffrey got all those touches, but I don't know. I just don't. There's a lot of unknowns with that coaching staff and that new quarterback. So that's my saw. And if you don't like it, you can tweet at me, Keenan _716.
Yeah, I think that McCaffrey will continue to get a lot of targets. I don't think he's going to get what he was getting. Yeah. Bridgewater loves to throw the short passes, but you're right. We don't know what that new coaching staff's going to do. So I'm going to move over to my sell, and that's going to be Aaron Jones, the running back for the Green Bay Packers. And, again, I love the talent. I think he's a good player. But at the same point, there are, I guess, a lot of issues that I can see, along with his team maybe showing that they're not too much invested in him either. So with the addition of A.J. Dillon this year, kind of as a higher pick, Aaron Jones seems pretty expendable. He was not a high draft pick, not high draft capital. This coaching staff didn't select him. He'll be a free agent after this year, and it just seems like the writing's kind of on the wall for him. And he's kind of he led the league last year in touchdowns. He had 18 total, and he needed those touchdowns though to kind of be that top back, because he did have 5 games with 8 PPR points or less. So that was very disappointing to find out. And another alarming stat was he did have 49 catches and 3 touchdowns throughout the season, but four of those games Devontae Adams missed, and he had all 3 touchdowns in 22 of those 49 catches in that. So really he had 27 catches and no touchdowns in the 12 games when Devontae Adams played. That was extremely alarming to me. So I really don't think that Aaron Jones is going to be somebody in PPR that you can rely to have that top 5 even production, unless you think he's going to be getting a lot of touchdowns, and I don't think he's going to be getting a lot of touchdowns. He had a fantastic 2019, even had a great 2018, but I don't think that 2020 will be kind to him, or at least even beyond. So great player. If you can move him, I would do it now, unless you are just so confident in the talent that if he goes somewhere else besides Green Bay, that he's going to land in a spot where he will be a workhorse. But again, that's kind of the disappointing things with Aaron Jones for me. Even with Jamal Williams too, it's kind of crowded. and I think he's going to be the odd man out for 2021.
Yeah, like I said earlier, they're 1-8-8 season away from just tearing that whole team up. They already got the pieces. They already got A.J. Dillon and they got Jordan Love. So
Yeah, I like that self for sure. My guy though, I don't know if it'll be a surprise or not, but I'm going with Delvin Cook. I think there's a few obvious reasons. Alexander Madison, he played great with the opportunity he was given. He's had injury issues throughout his entire career. He's on the final year of his deal. Who knows if that's even gonna turn into a holdout situation or not. I'm really hoping it doesn't. I think since they traded away Diggs, all the Adam Thielen's going to be 30 years old. They're going to need him. So, I think they are going to prioritize trying to sign him, but there is still that possibility of a holdout. And then not only that, but his value right now is probably higher than it's ever going to be again. I know some people argue, if he does get signed to a long-term deal, his value will raise. But not really. If you look at Zeke, he signed that long-term deal, and his value is right about where it was before, anyways. And if he comes into this year and he's not signed to a long-term deal, has another injury, who knows what happens, and then his value will significantly drop potentially. So, right now would be the best time to get as much as you possibly could for him.
yeah, and I do love Alexander Madison. I think he's a Dalvin Cook pretty much, just a younger version.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm a big fan of Dalvin Cook. I do think he's got a few more years. Maybe Madison can become something, but I think at least right now it could be something after Dalvin's up. And sorry, just one more.
I'll never draft Dalvin Cook again because he cost me a WWE championship, and Dennis Reagan won that week with like 100 points on me.
Yeah, I still think Dalvin Cook is going to be great.
Yeah.
But there are things that could potentially make his value decrease come next offseason.
Yeah, I agree with that. And sorry, just one thing too I want to hit back on with Aaron Jones that I forgot was that he did have 16 rushing touchdowns, 19 total, but the averaging one a game, he had 14 of those touchdowns in the red zone, and 11 of them were in the 10-yard line. And that was another reason why you can't expect that to happen every single season. So
were his touchdowns bunched up?
What'd you say?
Were his touchdowns bunched up? Like he had multiple touchdowns in games?
Oh yeah, he had I think at least 4 games where he had multiple rushing touchdowns. Yeah, there was a couple games with nothing for sure.
I had him last
5
year.
games with 8 points or less.
He was really frustrating last year.
He was, and
either he hit or you got nothing out of him.
Yeah, especially Cook was frustrating when he's injured, but like you said, when he's on the field, he's going to be fantastic.
For example, would you trade Dalvin Cook for Miles Sanders plus?
I wish.
Potentially even get Nick Chubb plus.
Did you see his eyes light up?
Yeah. I mean, if I could get
I wish I had Miles Sanders on my team. Antonio would be pulling up that Brinks truck right now.
Antonio, I got him in the Western New York Dynasty League.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to your buy for a wide receiver. Why don't you talk about Darius Slayton for the New York Giants, Eric?
Yeah. At first he wasn't my buy first, but then I was looking, and for some crazy reason, which I don't know why, his ADP is wide receiver 48. He was a rookie last year. He finished last year as wide receiver 37. He's 23 years old. They didn't draft any wide receivers, which I think that is a big telling sign of what they think of him, because Golden Tate's going to be 32 years old. He's not going to be a long-term option there. He's going to be gone soon. Sterling Shepard is good, but he's not great in my opinion. And and he's the next guy there. I think he's potentially going to be their wide receiver one. Maybe not next year, but come the year after. All he has to do is just hit what his numbers that he had last year, and he's already beating his current value. So, wide receiver 48 was a bit low to me. I was surprised about that. But yeah, they drafted O-line, so their passing game should hopefully be better. Daniel Jones is going to have some better protection. The whole offense is just going to be better, which could open up more opportunities for more scoring chances. He is a big play guy. And yeah, just for how low his price is right now, I think it'd be crazy not to try and get him.
Your last point there that you didn't mention, that they didn't draft a single wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Did you? I'm sorry, I missed it.
That was one of the things. They didn't draft anybody in this potentially crazy draft class for wide receiver, crazy good wide receivers. They didn't take a single one.
I would have put money on it. They were gonna at least get Daniel Jones some weapons.
And they were one of the teams that everyone thought would take a wide receiver, and
they must.
I think that's a telling sign for their rookie wide receiver, that they like him and they want him to be big part of that offense.
Yeah, that's a excellent point.
Yeah, they want that continuity for sure with Golden Tate, Shepard, and Evan Ingram's probably staying there. So I'm intrigued with Slayton for sure. What was he, a 6th-round pick too?
Fifth rounder, I believe.
Fifth round, is that what you said? Yeah, 5th rounder. Right?
He's a 5th rounder, and he had those great numbers, huh?
Well, he was in like the 30s for pre-draft rankings and everything for wide receivers. Yeah. He was definitely not. There was a lot of late wide receivers that kind of came up this year.
And when you look at his film, this year for the Giants, he had some nice catches. He made those big plays, and that's what you want to see out of guys. And I think they're potentially going to put themselves in some more scoring opportunities this year, and the offense just as a whole will be better. And
yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is they didn't draft anybody in this class, which was surprising. And I think that's a big telling sign of what they think of him.
Yeah. That's true. So Keenan, why don't you talk about your wide receiver buy?
Yeah, my wide receiver buy is going to be Robert Woods, a wide receiver, for the LA Rams. You're going to be able to get Robert Woods real cheap. Robert Woods doesn't put up those flashy numbers that that a Julio or Hopkins would or Beckham would, but he is on the field all the time. There's only 2 players that had more snaps than Robert Woods last year, and that was Hopkins. He was on the field for 97% of the time. Odell Beckham was on the field for 95% of the snaps, and Robert Woods was on the field for 94% of his team snaps. 1,009 snaps altogether, to be exact. And for in fantasy, what's more important than a player being on the field? It gives them more chances to, catch the ball, score some touchdowns for you, rack up those fantasy points so you guys can get that W. So I think Robert Woods, you're going to be able to get him cheap. Perfect depth guy. The other thing that I found really interesting is the Rams ended up switching their offense on the fly last year. They went from heavy personnel. They went from heavy 11 personnel to 12 personnel because of that poor offensive line. Because of that, Robert Woods became one of the best wide receivers from week 12 to week 17. He ended up being a wide receiver 12 in those weeks. We would think that Cooper Kupp would take away from Robert Woods, but Robert Woods takes away from Cooper Kupp. From week 9 to week 17, Cooper Kupp was only on the field on 3rd down plays, where Robert Woods stayed on the field for all 3 downs. So I think this is a chance where I think the LA Rams are going to get that offense figured out again. We mentioned they were just a year away from being one of the best offenses in NFL history. They were putting up crazy numbers, and like I said, this is perfect guy to target. He's going to be cheap. yeah, that's my buy, guys.
Yeah, it sounds like we got some high praise for the Rams this season. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can't see them going from one of the best offenses in the league to just mediocrity from like they were last year. I think they take a step forward again.
Yeah, everyone's definitely getting an uptick. And speaking of someone getting an uptick, I have my wide receiver buy here, and that's going to be Marquise Hollywood Brown, wide receiver of the Baltimore Ravens, coming into his second year. And I think this guy he flashed all over the field and was barely even on it. That it seems like every time he played, he was scoring a touchdown, or you were just waiting for some long explosion to happen. You know, whenever Lamar put that ball up in the air, I was hoping Hollywood was on the receiving end of it. And like I said, it seemed like more often than not he wasn't, or he was. He had 7 touchdowns, but only on 71 targets. So, I mean, he's not going to, catch one every single 10 targets. That's a lot, but he did have at least 6 games with double-digit PPR, and 2 of them were over 20. So that was pretty awesome when he couldn't even play more than 65% of the snaps. That was only 4 games was he over that. So I think he's going to be able to get on the field more. Obviously, he was a rookie. He had Liz Frank injury in December of 2018 that he was coming off of. So I think there's just a lot of good things for him. He reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill. And I'm not saying he's going to become Tyreek Hill next season, but, I mean, he can cut and just run routes so well. He gets a lot of yak, a lot of yards after the catch. And, I mean, just his first game alone, he had 4 catches for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns, his first NFL game ever. So I think there's a lot more good things to come.
It was against the Dolphins, though. I remember that game.
Hey, it doesn't matter. You're a rookie, and that's your first NFL game, and you've got Lamar Jackson, who was perceived to be, we obviously saw he was a better passer, but at the time not that great, especially with the deep ball. And, you go off doing that. That was at least extremely impressive to me.
Yeah.
But I think that offense as a whole is going to get a lot better, especially getting rid of Hayden Hurst. I think people are underestimating how big of a deal that's going to be for that offense.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with you because you took him right before me in our draft that we are doing right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him everywhere I can. So let's move to our wide receiver cells. Speaking of crowded, who do you have there, Eric?
Yeah, mine's Amari Cooper, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about this before. The whole situation there in Dallas with the 3 wide receivers, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. Cooper's going to be great. He's going to be good. He's going to be what he is. He always has those games where he disappears, and then he has games where he just absolutely dominates. He's always the guy that finishes the year as a top 12 guy, but never feels like it, And I think, especially with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be more of that. There's going to be games where, there could be games where all 3 of them do great, but, it's not going to be often, and just for the long-term outlook, his contract's no longer guaranteed after 2021. Michael Gallup's contract is up after 2021, and, Gallup's going to be the cheaper option to keep alongside CeeDee Lamb. So we could see a potential trade or something happen with Amari Cooper that, really it just could end ugly. Knowing Jerry Jones and just how they run things there. But, it's right now his ADP is wide receiver 11. You can get a pretty good haul for him. And I'd like to sell him now and just not even have to deal with the situation that's going to come in a couple of years where, you just don't know. He could be on a different team, and you just don't even know what team it'll be and how he's going to produce in that offense. But he will be. He should be fine for the next 2 years in this offense. I would think. I think it's going to be a high-powered offense. But for the long-term outlook, I think right now, what you can get for him, it's a good time to sell.
Yeah, I do think that Amari if you're in the side of Eric where you think that that's going to be the case, then might be the right time to sell, or even next season if he has another great year and people maybe don't see that writing on the wall, you could get rid of him too. I'm on the side too that no matter where he goes, he's probably going to produce. He did it in Oakland, does it in Dallas. If they get rid of him, I think he's going to do it wherever else he goes to. But I'm also a pretty big fan of Amari Cooper. But I can't fault you for what you're thinking because I also love Gallup and CD.
It's just, I had him in leagues too this 2019 season, and talking with other people, I don't remember who exactly it was, but they were literally asking, or not necessarily asking, they were just debating to themselves in a playoff game whether they wanted to play Amari Cooper or it was like some wide receiver 3. It's just he always somehow just has game where it's just like you're scared to play him, Like he's just worried he's not gonna just not do anything.
I was in a championship game a couple years ago. Story time, guys. And I was up by 2.3 points or whatever, 2-3 points. It was very small margin. All my players were done. He only had Amari Cooper going into the 4 o'clock games. I watched that whole game. I expected I lost. I was sitting back because I'm like, I'm going to lose. As the game went on and on and on and on, I slowly started getting closer and closer and closer to TV because Amari Cooper did not have a catch that game.
Exactly.
So I don't fault you at all. He has games where he disappears.
Yes, he does.
I don't know.
He did it on Dallas. He had games on Dallas where
he did it in Oakland a lot, like I said, and I ended up winning that game by, like I said, it was against Shane Sawicki. You guys can talk to him about it, but it was a championship game, and I don't fault you at all. He definitely disappears.
Yeah, he does. He does have his up and downs, but I tend to hope he has more of those ups, a little bit more frequently. But somebody else that I really do like that pains me to talk about is Cortland Sutton, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. I love the talent. I really do. I had high hopes for this guy, and then they go and draft Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and bring in Melvin Gordon. And right there, I just kind of had to get rid of all of those high hopes for me. When Locke came in the last 5 games of the season, they went 4-1, and Cortland Sutton's best game was the first game that Locke played with him, and it was 5 targets, 4 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. He only had higher than 74 yards one more time, and that was only 79 yards, and never had higher than 5 catches, and no more touchdowns. It's really scary to me now that they've added so many pieces to the offense. It's fantastic for Drew Lock, fantastic for Denver as a whole, but I just don't think it's good for Cortland Sutton. He showed that he can be a really good wide receiver. He's a great deep threat. He's really big. He plays really big, but you got to hope that he's going to be hyper efficient with those targets in order to rely on those high touchdowns, or at least hopefully looking for that jump of him becoming a true wide receiver 1. But Drew Lock only averaged 32 passes a game, and even if he gets 500 attempts and Cortland Sutton gets 25% of that, that's still 125 targets, and that's really not enough. That's exactly what he had last year. And 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns is a good season, but it's not what you were looking for what the aspirations of Cortland Sutton are. And Jerry Jeudy's really, really good, so who knows, he doesn't take over as the wide receiver 1.
You better shut your mouth.
Like I said, I love Cortland Sutton as the talent, but everything that they've done this offseason, and Noah Fant's just really good himself, and it just worries me.
Yeah, I love Cortland Sutton. If you have him on your team and you want to sell him low, let's talk tonight, Anthony.
Thankfully, I don't really have him anywhere, but yeah, we'll see though. We'll see. Why don't you tell us about your sell?
Yeah, Keenan is selling Keenan Allen, wide receiver for the LA Chargers. I just don't know what's going on there in LA. Unlike the other LA Rams, all other LA team where I feel very comfortable fantasy wise. I I think with Tyrod or Justin Herbert, I think his numbers fall down. I think, he's going to struggle in that offense, that newly developed offense with a new quarterback. They lost Phillip Rivers, who they've had this chemistry and connection for a while, and going from Phillip Rivers, who's a future Hall of Famer, to a rookie quarterback or Tyrod Taylor is just not going to cut it for him, I think. So if you have Keenan Allen, I would consider selling him. Also, another thing that scares me is his age. He's turning 28, or he is 28 already. Once those wide receivers start getting close to the 30s, it's really scary, because then you won't be able to trade them, and then you're stuck with an aging wide receiver. I actually did. I ended up trading Keenan Allen. Now that I think about it, I ended up trading Keenan Allen and Tyler Boyd, and I got 1-8 and 1-10 for this year. So I think that worked out for me pretty good, because now I could draft my wide receiver replacements in this deep draft.
Yeah, I like that. So Antonio and I we co-commissioned a league, and we had Keenan Allen. We ended up trading. We traded Keenan Allen for the 108, I believe it was, and something else, and we drafted Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, see, that's like I said, I traded him for 1-8 and Tyler Boyd also, so I got 1-8 and 1-10. And if I could get Justin Jefferson at 1-8, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's move into our tight ends here. Eric, who do you have?
Yeah, my tight end sell or buy, or we're doing buys, right? Buys first. Yeah, so my buy for tight ends is going to be Tyler Higbee, tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. I guess the biggest argument for this is actually I'm buying into the fact that they're going to run the offense that they were running towards the end of the year last year. So what they did was weeks 1 through 12, they ran 11 personnel 76% of the time. And then weeks 13 to 17 is when they ended up only running 11 personnel 59% of the time. And during that time, they were running more two tight end sets, and Tyler Higbee was thriving during that time. He had 4 games over 100 yards. He was averaging over 100 yards a game. If you stat him out from when after they made the switch, so basically it was 5 games. It's a small sample size. But if they continue to run this offense, his 16-game pace would have been 179 targets for 137 receptions, 1,670 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which is absolutely insane. With even with obvious regression from those numbers, say he loses 40% of those stats, right? He's still gonna outproduce the tight end 12. And my argument towards why, a lot of people don't think they're gonna continue running that offense for some reason. Before they were running that, they were scoring 22.6 points per game, which was kind of middle of the pack to the NFL. After the switch for the last 5 games, they were scoring 33.6 points per game, which would have been number 1 in the league, with Baltimore finishing the season with 31.6. Just the entire offense was so much better. Pass blocking was better. There was a lot of pressure taken off of Goff. Goff played better. Not worried about Gerald Everett. He's on the last year of his deal. Higbee was already signed to an extension. So, sure, Everett will be there this year, but even with him there, I still think Higbee's going to be great. I don't think he's going to hit those projected numbers, or those numbers he would have been on pace for. But, I still think you can easily see 80 catches and 1,000 yards. So and he's gonna smash that tight end 12 value that he's currently sitting at. We're doing a tight end premium, super flex tight end premium. Both drafts I got him in the 10th round, and I'm ecstatic about that.
Yeah, you were pumped.
I was very happy.
You would think we're LA Rams fans over here.
For real.
Antonio loves Goff. I love Robert Woods. You love Higbee.
I love Cooper Cup too.
Cooper Cup. Yeah, I'm gonna bust out my LA Rams jersey. But my buy for tight ends is Noah Fant, Denver Broncos tight end. He had a very strong rookie season. 40 receptions, 562 yards, 3 touchdowns. The numbers don't jump off the page for just any fantasy player, but that's a very strong rookie season for a tight end. Tight ends tend to usually struggle in their first couple seasons in the NFL. He was just honestly the 12th. I was shocked when I saw this. He was just the 12th rookie tight end since 2000 to surpass 500 receiving yards. If that's I wish I remembered the other 11, but that's an impressive stat. And he also had Drew Lock throwing on the ball last couple games of the season, a rookie quarterback. But that whole offense, I think, is just going to be really good. They have a lot of weapons, like we've mentioned. They drafted a couple wide receivers, and Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler from Penn State. The big thing for me is Pat Shurmur is their new offensive coordinator. Veteran offensive coordinator. He has a very good track record with tight ends dating back to early 2000s. He helped Chad Lewis and Kyle Rudolph have Pro Bowl seasons. Schumer has also said very great things about Noah Fant. I take it that he's going to use him if he's saying all these great things about him. He even compared him to Evan Ingram, who when Ingram was healthy, we all knew how he was a stud in fantasy football. So I think if you can get Noah Fant, especially because what am I trying to say here? Especially if someone that's not very familiar with rookie tight ends and how long it takes tight ends to develop, I think you could take advantage of someone and get him at a very good price for yourself.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of Fant, and like you said, that list of 11 other tight ends is probably a pretty good list to be on. I'm sure there's some really popular names that we know. And it does take a bit for tight ends to break out. So for him to do that so early is really crazy. And another younger tight end that I want to talk about too is Mike Gesicki, the tight end from Miami. And he kind of had a coming out party for himself last year, especially after their bye from week 6 on, when he was the tight end 10. And he did a majority of his work during that time too, where he had 45 catches for 519 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he only had 6 other catches really before that. So on a full slate of a season where he finished as a tight end 12 right now, I think he's in a really good spot to do way better than that. He's currently going as a tight end 13, and we're probably looking more towards a top 6, top 7 finish, especially if he can get more targets, which I think he will. He had 7 plays of 20 plus yards, and he had an extremely high ADOT, average depth of target. So he was targeted very far down the field. He led all tight ends in air yards from week 4 on, and we all know how Fitzmagic loves to throw the ball. So he wound up finishing 4th in air yards for all tight ends. So I think that Mike Gesicki will, now going into his 3rd year, will become a really reliable target for Fitzpatrick again, and hopefully the incumbent Tua Tagovailoa. And in that 9-game stretch that we were talking about, he had at least 6 targets in those games, and he was able to get at least 8.5 points per game. So that would put him still as tight end 12 last year, and that's just without even improving. And he was one of 7 tight ends to have at least 50 catches, and 8th in targets with 89. So Miami wants to give him the ball.
You want to know a weird stat about Gesicki? Out of all the tight ends in 2019 with at least 80 catches, he is the only one not to break a tackle. Not that it really means. Was that?
Was it 80 targets?
I believe it was catches. Didn't he have 80 catches?
He had 57 catches.
Oh, targets.
Yeah, okay.
Targets. With at least 80 targets, yeah. Out of all the tight ends with at least 80 targets, he was the only one not to break a single tackle.
Oh, that is interesting. That means he really just got used on the field a lot. And, well, I mean, he did get used on the field a lot. And that's another thing with Gesicki. And what I like in my tight ends is that he ran a lot of routes. He wasn't just on the field to kind of block. So,
like we were talking about how I got Higbee in the 10th. I traded up and I selected Gesicki in the 10th round also. So those are my two tight ends in that league. In a tight end premium league, I got them both, in the later rounds. So I was pretty happy about that. These are two guys that I think could easily break the top 8, and you're buying them at what, tight end 12 and 13 with Higbee and Gesicki.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So why don't you shift us over to the sell side, Keenan, and
just to add on to the tight ends that were that got 500 yards in the rookie season, just to name a couple before we move on. Evan Ingram, Jeremy Shockey, Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez. Let me scroll down here. George Kittle. Yeah, there's a lot of good players. Tyler Eifert's on there too, but a lot of good tight ends who had really good careers, and who had 500 yards in their rookie season. So I think, just to add on to Noah Fant, I think that's a good sign for him as well. So now I guess I'll move into my sell here. Someone stole my sell. I won't mention any names. I'm sure the listeners will figure it out once we get to them. So I had to change my sell to Travis Kelce. When it comes to Dynasty football, I'm a big believer in age and father time. And Travis Kelce has been one of the best tight ends for the last 4 years. He's been a tight end 1 in PPR in the last 4 straight seasons. This is something that you could use in trade talks, use as leverage in negotiating with people. Like I said, I'm a big believer in father time, and father time will eventually catch up to all of us. Hasn't caught up to me, thankfully. No gray hairs yet. But Travis Kelce's turning 31 this October. It's hard to believe. And just like when Rob Gronkowski had to take that year off after he, all those injuries piled up, I think this would be the perfect offseason to trade him. He had a good year last year. They won the Super Bowl. Like I said, I'm a big fan of taking advantage of people, and this is when you take advantage. Try to trade Travis Kelce and try to get as much as you can for him. The thing I found interesting, though, even when Tyreek Hill was out last year due to injury, he missed a few games. Travis Kelce only scored 1 touchdown. You would think that, with their top wide receiver out, you would think they would use Travis Kelce more, but they still spread the ball around and were able to, overcome the Tyreek Hill injury without really using Travis Kelce. Another thing, like I said, injuries are going to start piling up. They already have. He's had multiple surgeries over the last few years, including his ankle hernia. He had shoulder surgery. This is his 8th season. Eventually, the body's gonna shut. After football's a physical sport, as we know, and eventually it's going to catch up. So I think this would be a perfect offseason to trade one of the best tight ends in the game.
Yeah, it's always sometimes nicer to be a year early than a year too late, and that might be the right time for Travis Kelce. And I'm wondering if for my player that might be the right time too, and that's Darren Waller. He's not up there in age. He's going to be turning 28, but
Hold on. You traded me him. What are you saying? You ripped me off?
There is a good reason. And, I could be wrong, though. I could definitely be wrong. But I have a better feeling he's more like Gary Barnidge than he is going to be.
Swear to God, Antonio.
So, a big reason with Darren Waller, he had 90 catches, over 1,100 yards. And that was just a fantastic year, kind of coming out of nowhere. But Foster Moreau is a younger talent tight end they really like. They signed Jason Witten. They draft Henry Ruggs. They get Nelson Aguilar. I think that they're making that that offense a little bit more crowded for Waller, where I don't think he's going to be getting the same amount of targets. They added Mariota, who we know Mike Mayock, their GM, really, really loved back when he came out. So there's a chance he could replace Carr. Like I said, maybe the wide receivers are going to stretch the field for him, and he's going to become even more efficient than he already was. They won't need that many catches, but I'm kind of on the other side of that. And out of those 1,145 receiving yards, he only had 856 air yards. And that means that he had a lot of yards after catch. And we don't see many tight ends that have the ability to get so much yards after catch. George Kittle's the number one in the league with that. And Darren Waller wasn't too far back from him. And I really don't think Darren Waller can be that consistent with it. So with that being said, I really think that it would be a nice time to get rid of him, because I don't think he can get even higher. If you can't sell him now for, what would you say, maybe a late first, how do you think if he does it again and then becomes turning 29 that you're going to be able to even do it more? So if you can find a buyer and get a late first for him, I would definitely take it. Maybe even an early second and another maybe fourth come back with it.
It's crazy how many negatives you found now and how many positives you found in our trade negotiating.
During your talks, yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, this was also probably before the draft, before they got Mariota.
I wish this is way before the draft, but
exactly. I mean, Carr loves Waller. He really does, but I didn't think that.
Well, Mariota's gonna love him too. So
he may. He just very well may. So let's continue with the old theme.
I didn't realize he was 28 though.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere. He was a really good pickup for me personally last year. I grabbed him in almost every redraft and a few dynasties too. But, I just I kind of only expected to take it once. I'm not going to keep hoping for more. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Good for him if I'm wrong.
Better be wrong. I'm coming to your house.
So, Eric, why don't you continue the theme with some older tight ends?
Yep. So my sell, like you said, an older tight end here is Zach Ertz. He's going to be turning 30 during the season. I do know that tight ends generally do last a little bit longer. Look at Jason Witten and Greg Olsen, for example. But still, he once you're over 30, it just seems like, especially for fantasy football, like your dynasty values is just going to start dropping. He's currently ADP tight end 5 right now. His value, I feel like his value from last year to this year has dropped significantly already. So I think right now is going to be the best time to get as much as you possibly could, whatever it may be, because, after this season, if Dallas Goedert goes out and has a good year, it could get ugly. He is Zach Ertz is signed still there under contract for another 2 years, but he does want an extension that is him trying to reset the market for tight ends. He already turned down a contract that rivaled Austin Hooper's. So he's looking to get a lot of money, and they have a talented guy there in Dallas Goedert that, if they don't want to pay Zach Ertz, then they might not have to necessarily. While he's there, I think he's still going to be great while he's there. But where is he going to go after? We don't know. And like I said, his value is going to be dropping from year to year. And right now his value is probably never going to get higher again. So get what you can for him. If you could try and trade him for, I don't even know,
a third. So
I'd trade, like, for example, I'd trade him for Tyler Higbee plus. You could probably get something pretty good along with a Tyler Higbee or a Mike Gesicki or even a Hunter Henry or one of those guys.
Well, even maybe offer him for a Noah Fant or for a Hawkinson.
Yeah, or a Noah Fant. You could
Zach Ertz in a second for Fant or Hawk. Yeah,
see if you can get one of those guys plus, I'm all over that. And I think you can right now. I mean, obvious he's being drafted as the fifth tight end right now, and all those guys we named are going after him. So yeah, I think you get what you can right now for him, because next off season you might not be able to get nearly as much.
I love it, Eric. I wonder where you got this sell from.
Took it from an old friend, you know.
Been selling them all
Always
off
good.
season.
Always good to share the knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's going to wrap up our buys and sells. I hope you enjoyed them. That was a lot of information there for all the players in all those positions. And what we're going to do is move over to wrap it up with our segment of the Mafia market. And I think Keenan's going to move us along this week. What trade do you have for us, Keenan?
Well, I'm working out a trade here with one of our buddies. Not going to mention any names. I'm sure you guys can figure it out. We've been in trade talks for a while. So I want to trade for Alvin Kamara. I think he's one of the better running backs in the league, obviously. And
Trying to trade Wayno.
yes, I am.
I call
So the only thing that's holding me back is I think I'm giving up too much, and so I'm giving him Singletary. Well, I don't care. I don't really mind giving up Singletary.
I'm warning you. I have an offer out for him.
For Alvin Kamara?
Same league. So be careful what you say.
For who?
For Kamara in the same league.
Oh, for our Dynasty PPR league, one quarterback, West Virginia. So, well, I don't care. I'm already stacked at running back. I'm already doubting myself that I'm gonna do the trade. But Singletary was part of the deal, and also 1.8 and 1.10 was the other two pieces.
This is now okay.
Yeah, this is now. Our draft is in July, so
he's willing to do it, and you just have to say yes.
Well, no, this offer has been on the table for months now, and it's just it's one of us who's going to engage in conversation again, and I'm hesitant to make the move. After doing a couple drafts, I'm like, wait, I could get this, I could get that.
I mean, I don't want to say this just because you're one of my rivals in that league, obviously, because we both are, I'd say, have the top 3 or 4 teams in that league. We both finished in the top 4 this year, but you're giving up Singletary, the 108 and the 110 for Kamara.
Yeah,
for me, that's a smash accept. I would easily give that up for Kamara.
Really,
especially even this year.
I would, yeah, especially with his team too. Yeah. Who are your running backs? You have Zeke,
Melvin Gordon. When I pull it up, I got the.
Don't you have like Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, I have such a
really good team.
I don't know how I even won a championship with this lineup, and it's actually really frustrating. So I have Eckler, I have Gordon, I have Elliott, Kerryon Johnson, whatever, Singletary, and yeah, those are my running backs. My wide receivers, I have Hill, Deebo Samuel, Michael Thomas, Goddard at tight end with Ryan Griffin and Ebron.
Yes, I think you need more depth. I think I would keep those picks. And it's not, obviously 3 months ago I probably would have said that was a smash, but as you get closer to draft season, you could probably move.
But you also got to realize he has 101 in this league too.
Yeah, I have 101 as well, where I'm taking.
He's taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. He already said he could be starting. His starting lineup could be Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, and then Deebo Samuel is your.
Yeah, but then you're tying yourself to New Orleans too. Is that another thing? Are you worried about that at all?
No.
Hey,
my biggest concern with that is the whole Drew Brees thing too. Once Brees retires, is the field not going to be that?
Still, though, it's very tempting to just take that and dominate this year. But
it is. But at the same point,
at the same time, you do have a strong team, so you could be fine.
My other thing is we're getting close to that draft. Is someone going to overpay for these picks even more?
Exactly why I'm saying
that's where we're only a month away now. Where as the clock is ticking, I'm more pulling back from this trade, and I'm like, I'll just hang on to Singletary and see what happens with 8 and 10.
Yeah, I guess
I might even pull back Singletary, like you just said. I would maybe even just do 8 and 10. But if you move Kamara, then you can't really trade Kamara. People are going to want I think right now you wouldn't be able to trade Kamara for 8 and 10 come draft time.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, you could.
You don't think so?
I think with this league, not necessarily as a whole.
I guess
The
maybe
whole people
for the
should,
league,
but draft fever gets people going crazy. I mean, I've seen Saquon Barkley go for 105 and 107.
That's what I'm saying.
Where?
I've seen it on Twitter.
Once people are drafting, people go crazy. Just look what happened in our other league, where I was able to move back for nothing, and then ended up getting an extra second.
Yeah.
It's just people want their guy, and so we'll see. We'll see. That's on the table. So it's
Well, I think that might be a good. It could end up being a good move for you, but sometimes patience is a virtue.
Yeah, like I said, we're only a month away from the draft. So
I got a trade that I just want to throw in quick before we get out of here. But the most recent trade I've done, I'd say, of significance, but it's a super flex league, 12-team, tight end premium, and I traded for Deshaun Watson. So I received Deshaun Watson, and I gave up. It was a 7th-round pick, my first-round pick, my first and third next year, and then my first the year after, I believe it was. And then maybe I think we swap picks somewhere else or something. But
is this with Wayno again?
So this was a startup.
Yeah, it's a startup that we're doing right now. So I have Deshaun Watson paired with Lamar Jackson now for my 2 QBs. And then Teddy Bridgewater is my backup. I'm loving my team after the trade. I will admit I probably got a good deal on it. I think he's definitely worth more.
You definitely got a better deal.
Yeah, so it was the 7th round, and then you sent off your 21st and 22nd first, as well as a 3rd and 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a smash for me to get Watson.
Yeah. I'm more mad because I offered him more when we were in the first round for me to move up to that spot. And then he ends up trading that pick for, future.
I thought he was going to take a quarterback in the 7th because the reason why is there was still some decent quarterbacks on the board. Like I believe, there was like
Goff was on there, I think.
Darnold, Goff, a few guys that are
No,
young.
Darnold wasn't because I took Darnold right before you, but
Oh, was it? Still Goff and a few other guys.
He got nervous. Like I said, you got to take advantage of those players.
Yeah, but
that's what fantasy football is, though.
Yeah, well, I think that's just gonna about wrap us up here for this episode. Anything else that you guys want to add in here?
We love you, Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah, that should be it, man.
That's another good sode. Thanks again to everybody listening. Yeah, 3 episodes down. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at the Dynasty Mafia _FF. Follow myself at Antonio Denisi FF. You can follow Eric at Eric D _FF and at Keenan _716. You could find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher.
Yeah, that's breaking news.
Yeah, you can find us all over now. So,
and I want to say, if you guys have any questions, just send us a DM on our separate Twitters. Not necessarily doesn't have to be the podcast account, or just tag us in Twitter a question. If you ever need any help, any questions, if you want any advice on trade help or anything, just send us a DM. We're open to answering questions and engaging with you guys.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We're here to help, and yeah. So I hope that's what we're doing for you, and I hope you're with us here for the next episode. So again, thanks so much for coming through, and hope you had fun. So until then, Mafia out.
See ya.
Take care.